Hello everyone. This video will show how to geocode a spreadsheet of addresses. To begin, we're going to go to our spreadsheet of addresses. And here I have a spreadsheet of community colleges in the United States. And I'm going to click here so I can expand out all the fields so I can see the data that we have a little bit more clearly. And you'll notice that this is showing the community college name. It's giving us the address, the city, state, and zip. And then it's giving us some more information about that particular community college, like its URL, its president, and so on. So I want to geocode this so that I have this available as a data layer for maps. But before I do that, I want to mention a little bit about how a spreadsheet needs to be formatted so that your geocodes are more successful. The first thing is that your spreadsheets should be very simple. There should be no fancy formatting involved. If you have a lot of formatting, clear the formatting. There should be no spaces between the different records in the spreadsheet, like you can see here. There should be no spaces between like the field name and the actual values. So like if you have like a space here, the software is going to have a hard time reading those spaces. So you want to make sure that you do not have those kinds of things. So again, that it's just a nice, simply no formatted spreadsheet that you have. The other thing that I often do with this too is I sometimes change the field names because I'm not exactly happy with what they are. So I might change this to institution, this to address, and so on. But I'm not going to go through all of them. I just want to show you that for demonstration purposes. But like, it's helpful because it makes your data more understandable to an audience. But at the same time, our ArcGIS Online has rules about field names. You want to keep them less than 13 characters, and you don't want any spaces in your field names. So keep them, just under that amount, and not more than no spaces in those names. So here we have our spreadsheet. So I'm going to save this as a CSV file, and I'm saving this as a CSV file or a comma separate, comma delimited file because that's what ArcGIS Online likes. And I'm just going to replace the file because I already have it. So here, our file is ready to geocode. So we come back here to ArcGIS Online and we go to our add option. And then we want to add a layer from a file. And this is where we can navigate to that file on our computer, and it will grab it. And then you have two different options for how you would like to add the file. Create a hosted feature layer, or just add it as an item and add it to the map. You always want to select this first one to create a hosted feature layer because that's what we work with in ArcGIS Online. So what this will do, it will add your raw spreadsheet to ArcGIS Online, but then it will convert it to that hosted feature layer that you can use for mapping. So I'm going to hit next. And then it's asking what fields you want to retain, and I want to keep everything. And this is also an opportunity to come in here and rename things if you wish. So if you didn't do it back in your spreadsheet, you can do it here. And I tend to like to do that, like I said, because I'm really not a fan of all caps. I think it looks ugly, and because this is how it's going to translate to a pop-up, and I like to have as less work in pop-up configuration as possible, because if I do this once, I can be using this data in many maps and not have to reconfigure the pop-ups every single time to change things from all caps to non-all caps. So I'm going to hit next here. Oh, and by the way, it's also telling us what data type it is, like whether it's an integer means that it's a whole number, a string means that it's text. And then if you see double or float, like it's double means that it's a number that has numbers after the decimal. So I'm going to hit next. And then this is where we select how our file contains location, and it is addresses or place names. So we're going to keep that as is. And then we're going to come down here and let it know how our location fields are formatted within the spreadsheet. And as you saw earlier, the location fields are in more than one field. We had a field for address, a field for city and state, and so on. So ArcGIS Online will do its best to pick the right one, but it doesn't always. So make sure that you double check. And you don't have to have all these filled in. When you're geocoding addresses, you want the address, you want the city, the state, and the postal code for the best geocode. If you have some of this other info, that's great. But if you don't, that's fine as well. And I'm going to select for the region, I'm going to select the state. And then it's telling me that this is going to cost 36.2 credits. And as you may remember, when we run different analytical tools in ArcGIS Online, it costs credits, meaning that it actually costs money to be running these. And this is telling me what my available credits are, and I have a lot because we have unlimited credits in our account since we're an educational institution that subscribes to the site license, but not all educational institutions have this. And if you're not an educational institution, if you're private sector or something else, you are paying for credits, so you want to be mindful of your credit usage. So my advice is don't go geocoding 100,000 addresses, because that's going to destroy your credits. And be careful when you geocode, because like if you have a big batch that you're doing and you mess up, you lost all of those credits. So a good rule of thumb is to, if you're unsure of how it's going to work, just geocode 1 or 2 records to see if that worked, and then repeat it with the bigger data set so that you don't have to deplete your credit allocation. Now it's asking us what we want to name this, and I'm just going to keep it called what it is for now. And then I'm going to call this community colleges for the tag or the keywords there. And then I'm going to click create and add to map. And this is going to start the geocoding process whereby it adds each address as a point on the map. So voila, now you can see that we have our data geocoded. Now if I click on any one of them, you're going to notice all the data from the spreadsheet is there. So I can configure my pop-ups however I like here. For the community colleges, for example, I would come in here and I would immediately change that title, and I would make the title the name of the institution. And then I would go in the fields list and determine what's needed and what's not. Like, for example, FIPS. Nobody knows what that means, so get rid of it, and so on. So you clean these up so that it's useful. And then, of course, you come in here and you re-symbolize it to a symbol that is more like along the lines of what you want your symbol to look like. And I tend to like the firefly symbols, so I use those frequently. And then I can hit done. And there we have our geocoded addresses. And I'll do one more thing just because I like to show good habits. And I'm going to rename this community colleges because we want this to be renamed how it's going to show up in our legend. If we would have kept community colleges geocoded, it just would have looked sloppy, and we want our audience to clearly understand the data. So that's all there is to geocoding. Isn't that fun? So I hope you maybe have something in mind that you'd like to geocode, and give it a shot and see what happens. Good luck.